It will be another banner weekend in the Big 12, and these are the best bets that you should book. This is Locked On Big 12. Alliteration.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Today, it is the top 5 bets in our conference this weekend, brought to you by FanDuel. And guess what? If you cannot wager in your state, that's fine. I do this for fun. And you get to tell me I'm an idiot if you think I'm an idiot, which seems to be everybody's favorite thing in the world to do. Best bet number 1 is actually not on my best bets this weekend. I'm going to give you a wild card here. The reason I'm not counting it in my graphic, which I have already queued up and ready to go, is because I do want to give you Saturday's slate. I usually, when I do wager, put all the one day of games together. I don't like being like, oh, well, this happened Friday, this happened. My first one, BYU plus 11.5. FanDuel is trying to give you money. FanDuel's like, look, I get it. You know, you've fallen on tough times. Here's some cash by basically, FanDuel's not actually going to hand you cash for betting BYU because anything can happen. But at plus 11.5, this is a lock in my book. The cheapest ticket to this game is $24. SMU fans don't care. And they barely snuck by Nevada. BYU dominated SIU last week. I think BYU, Jake Retzloff, tear that defense to shreds. Our best bets that come from Saturday. Let's start with the Kansas Jayhawks. They are traveling to Champaign, Illinois, and they are going to win by 5 or more. You're telling me that not just a Big 12 contender, but my pick to win the Big 12 championship, a top 20 team, is going to Illinois this week. And you want the same Illinois that lost 45-42 to Northwestern to end last season. The same Illinois that didn't go to a bowl game. The same Illinois that, sure, they beat Eastern Illinois last week. Boom. Cool. Good. They've got guys back from last season that were same team that got boat raced by Kansas by a final of 34-23. And you might not be like, oh, that's not really a boat race. If you watch this, Luke Altmaier wasn't good. The whole offense for Illinois wasn't good. And they don't have an atmosphere. Kansas is effectively playing on the road the entire year. Give me Kansas minus 5 in this game. 66% chance to win per ESPN. And I think that's like on the low end. Kansas beats Illinois by more than 5. Thanks a lot. Kansas State at Tulane. Buddy, what we have to understand, Las Vegas, you're not doing a very good job this week in the Big 12 at setting these lines. What you have to understand is that Kansas State has a guy named Avery Johnson. And that Kansas State is maybe the best team in the Big 12. Their fans at least want you to think that, and they're not that far off if they do make that case. And that Kansas State has a guy named DJ Giddens. And going into this game, Tulane is without its head coach. Sure, they have a new head coach, but they lost Willie Fritz, who had built the program. And pre-Willie Fritz, they stunk. Now, Tulane beat Southeast Louisiana 52-0. That's about as good as you can get. I'll give it to you. The same Tulane team that lost the last couple of games finished last year. The bowl game against Virginia Tech lost to SMU. How much can you take that into account? Well, you can quite a bit when you factor in that Tulane lost a good portion of guys when their head coach left. Big 12 contender against Tulane team with first-year head coach. And it's not we're not playing in this daunting, crazy atmosphere. Like, oh man, how is Kansas State ever going to vie with New Orleans, Louisiana's Yulman Stadium? Ooh, spooky, scary. No. Kansas State minus 9.5. They win it by 10 points. They win 31-21. They cover. Yes. Same Kansas State team that won 41-6 last week. They're going to maybe not boat race Tulane, but they will beat Tulane by more than 9.5. Also, my best bets, Oklahoma State against Arkansas. I believe Oklahoma State wins this game. However, that's not what I'm here to tell you. The 7.5 is tough. I don't like the hook. I never liked the hook. I would buy the hook, and I'd make it Oklahoma State minus 6.5, Oklahoma State minus 7. I do like over 62.5 points in this game at FanDuel right now. Why? Offense. Life's too short to bet the under. An Arkansas team that put up 70 last week, an Oklahoma State team that against a very good defense in South Dakota State put up 44. Both of those teams saw the over at 44-20 for Oklahoma State. You're sitting right at that. You're over that 62.5. For Arkansas, you scored 70 on your own. I don't hate Oklahoma State's defense, but I do think Arkansas is going to score at least 24 points. And I believe that Oklahoma State will score 40 points in this game against the Arkansas defense, who lost Barry Odom, their defensive coordinator. Off two good offenses, sure. This game is going over 62. It's going to be hot, muggy, Boone Pickens Stadium at noon, 74 degrees. Good. That smells over. Best bets of the weekend brought to you by FanDuel. Arizona State against Mississippi State. This is the game that I pulled up my handy-dandy notebook. And my book of notes here says that Mississippi State sucks. Number 107 scoring offense last year at 21 points per game. Bad. Number 68 scoring defense last year. Not good. Fired head coach to hire Jeff Levy, who has never smelled defense in his entire life. They're the preseason number 15 team in the SEC. And guess what Arizona State did last week? They won handedly, impressively against Wyoming. And better yet, this game is at Arizona State in Tempe at 10:30 Eastern time, 9:30 Central time. Blake Shapen, Mississippi State, they will already be asleep. From Leavitt to Scatabo, the Arizona State offense last week was very impressive. They will come out and make a mockery of your silly little Mississippi State. If you like overs, there should be points in this game. Although Arizona State's defense was great. The game time weather set at 103 degrees. Welcome to the desert. It can't be right. It's 10:30 p.m. That's 8:30 there. 59.5. I'm fine with the over. This was a low scoring game last year, but Arizona State's offense is really good. The defense is definitely not bad. But give me at 49.5. Arizona State was at 55 total last week, and Mississippi State was at 63. But I just don't even matter. Arizona State wins this game by at least 10. Guaranteed, or I will eat something on the show next week if that doesn't happen. Last best bet this week, Texas Tech at Washington State. That's not supposed to say -4. It says -14 on the graphic. That's wrong. This is instead supposed to say the over. Please take the over in this game where both teams will likely shut off defenses. Texas Tech shut off its defense last week against Abilene Christian, and it looked bad. Washington State put up 70 against Portland State, but allowed 30 against Portland State. Texas Tech at over-under a combined total of 103 points last week. Washington State a combined total of 100 points. And Vegas is telling me that the over-under is 65.5. This game will be a final score of 42-35, most likely. Somewhere in that range, if not more. Over 65.5 is the lock of possibly the century between Texas Tech and Washington State. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go home to FanDuel.com and go Kansas -5 at Illinois. Kansas State -9.5 at Tulane. Buy that hook. Buy it off at 10. Oklahoma State versus Arkansas over 62.5. Mississippi State, Arizona State. Take the Sun Devils -6.5. And then the over in Texas Tech and Washington State at 65.5. You bet all those together. The Beast 12 parlay. That's plus 2,156. That's $100 to win you $2,156. Now you can guarantee that I'm locking those in this week in my book, and you can too if you want to win money. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is where you go to place all of these best bets in the Big 12 this week. You've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot. We have something different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com, to check out odds and bet on the Big 12 this week. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Coming out tonight, if you're watching this or listening to this on Thursday morning, will be the Big 12 squad getting back together to talk all things Big 12 Conference, a complete episode that drops live this evening at 6 Eastern-ish. And we'll break down all the games this week with every host of the Locked On Big 12 network and family of shows, talking your team and the biggest games in the best conference this weekend. That's the Truck Stop Conference, baby. Oh, man, I just hope we win a lot of games this weekend. I hope we win a lot of games. This has been It Always Will Be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.